Hi there, this is a piece of audio content that is only available in full over at patreon.com/Elwood City Limits. We wanted to give you a little bit of a preview to show you what you might be missing out on. You can join us for as little as $1 under the pay what you want model at patreon.com/Elwood City Limits and get access to over dozens of hours of content, including every episode of For the Kids, a PBS Kids podcast. We appreciate you listening, whether you're a patron or whether you're listening on the free feed. You're under no obligation to join, and thank you very much for checking out this preview. But if you'd like to know what these episodes and extra content sounds like, here's a little bit of a sneak peek. All right, so last time we started one of these, when we in part one, I think I kind of started off with like, oh, what was your first kind of impression of the show we're talking about? Lucas, my first question to you is, how many, let's go macro first. How many Transformers do you think you had as a kid? If you had to guess.
I don't know. Probably like five or six, but the ones I had were well loved. And in fact, Will, I'm looking at a Transformer right now on my shelf. I'm staring a Transformer down in the face. So I still have one at least, but
which one is it?
The Transformer I have is 20th anniversary Optimus Prime.
Of course.
Which let's see, when was the 20th anniversary? It would have been whatever the 20th anniversary of Transformers, and I think Transporters debuted in like 1984, 1986.
Right.
So probably around 2006 is when that thing came out.
Okay, so it's not the self-transforming one.
No. This was a lot older, but it's made out of die-cast metal. It was $99 in 2006, I remember, which was
wow,
prohibitively expensive for a Transformer, but it was the one big Christmas present I wanted that year. I circled it in the Sears Wish Book.
The Sears Wish Book.
And it was, and so I couldn't believe, it was beyond my wildest dreams that one, a Transformer could cost so much money, and then two, I would own it. And so yes, I still own it to this day. One of my top Christmas presents ever, to be perfectly honest with you. And he's still there on my shelf. So I didn't have that many, but I was intensely passionate about Transformers back when I was a kid. I had the DK Publishers Guide to Transformers, which I read cover to cover. So my young, prepubescent brain was stuffed to the brim with Transformers lore, well before I was even like on the internet or anything like that.
So, so about like half a dozen Transformers toys, including the one you still have. What about Beast Wars toys? What was the ratio between?
I don't think I actually had any Beast Wars toys.
Really?
I remember friends and like babysitters, like perhaps when I've gone to like friends' houses or like babysitters' houses, I remember there being, a Waspinator, a Rampage perhaps, a Tigertron maybe, but I never had one personally.
Okay, maybe that just speaks to when you would have originally seen the show, which we will talk about because, of course, this is part 2 of our Mainframe Entertainment retrospective here on ECL Origins. And part 2, we got to be talking about Beast Wars, or is it Beasties? We will get into it. Will Young here with Lucas Mancini. I was doing a little bit of a mental inventory. And at first I was going to like really shoot the moon with the number, and then I kind of dialed it back. So I would say I had probably at final count somewhere between like 7 and 10, and they were all Beast Wars.
Wow.
I don't think I ever owned a proper G1 Transformer. I think it was all Beast Wars.
See, because I got into Transformers and I read the DK Publisher's Guide, I was way into G1. I would get my mom to bring me like the DVDs of G1 home from the library. I feel like my introduction to Transformers was I had a bunch of Transformers Armada Transformers.
Yes, yeah.
And then after, Armada turned into, I think, Transformers Energon, and I sort of lost the plot late in Transformers Energon. So I was watching a lot more Transformers on DVDs than I was actually watching it on television. So I think I probably wasn't allowed to watch Beasties at the time, or I might have even been too young to understand it when it was airing. And I just didn't like Beast Machines. It did not give Transformers vibes to me, even as a kid.
We'll get into it. So that's really interesting. I think we're coming at this from two different approaches because, I mean, I might as well talk about it now before we get into the history or anything like that. So I mean, I'm sure there's not a lot of kids who, especially because Transformers for a time was primarily aimed at boys. I'm sure that the swath of kids who were interested in Transformers as soon as they understood the concept is very wide, and I was one of them. But I never really interacted with G1. I knew who like Optimus Prime was. I knew who Megatron was. Like I had friends who had the toys, but Beast Wars was my in because when it debuted, I would have been 5 or 6 years old, and so I was in the prime demographic for Beast Wars, and it was it just kind of took hold of me. It was one of my favorite shows of my childhood, along with the previous episode Reboot, and in no small part because of the CGI. But then so Beast Wars, I watched it in its original run, and then I kind of went back to it. It's very important to me. I got a lot of the toys. It never developed into like a full-blown interest in Transformers overall. Like I have a friend who is also very knowledgeable and interested in G1 and all of the like kind of normal Transformers that started with Beast Wars. Not so much for me. Like it's kind of where, you know, I like it, but it's not, I don't love it. I feel the same way about like Ninja Turtles, where it's like, I like it, I don't love it, sort of thing.
Well, I definitely don't love it with the fervor I did when I was a child.
No, of course
When I was a kid, anything robots kind of tickled my fancy, and so, yeah, I got way into Transformers. I was really, really excited for the Michael Bay film, the first one.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I remember that was one of the first Rick rolls that ever tricked me. It was like first Transformers trailer, and I clicked it, and I was disappointed to be Rick rolled. But Beast Wars, I only ever kind of really absorbed in full very, very recently, where, you know, I have my weekly anime club where me and my friends watch anime on Discord, and a tradition in anime club is the anime club after show, where after watching, you know, 5 episodes of anime, if you are in the mood to stay up late and stick around, we watch something that isn't anime. And, you know, that's been some of my favorite cartoons ever. For instance, HBO's Spawn, which, if you haven't seen it, highly recommend. That's a big recommend from yours truly. But one of the shows we recently watched was, in its entirety, Beast Wars.
Nice.
And that's one of the reasons I actually requested, Will, that we watch the episode we watched today, because it's one of the only episodes of Beast Wars I haven't seen. Because I missed that episode of Anime Club, so I was like, oh, this is my chance to catch up on the infamous Transmutate episode I've heard so much about. Beast Wars, unlike Reboot, which we talked about last week, Beast Wars could not be more fresh in my head. Like I just watched the show this year, so I feel very well acquainted with the world of Beast Wars.
Okay, that's going to do it for now, but we will see you next time on Elwood City Limits or at patreon.com/ElwoodCityLimits if you decide to join us. Thank you very much, and have a great week.